so keep that in mind.
Yeah, hey, forget I asked.
That'll definitely do.
Ew. Join the Discord.
It was the least fun I've ever had playing this game.
A small but vibrant and extremely humble community.
No, I've seen the sleeves, but I'm like, you said you're suiting up, and then you put your sleeve on. Thank you for saying that.
Because I'm a demon on the keys.
Next thing I know, we're both dead. I immediately left the lobby.
In Vietnam.
What are they playing for? Are they playing to win?
Stay humble.
Stay humble.
We are live. Welcome to the Dropshot, a Call of Duty podcast, episode number, I suspect 148. My name is, it is 148, confirmed. My name is Casey, also known as Razanon. I am not joined by my good friend Tanner. As some of you may know, he is helping with the relief effort in Zion National Park, pumping water because they got flooded or something. I don't know, and I don't care. But that's where he is. He is not here, obviously, right now. So I have another guest, but we'll get to that. So before we do, a couple announcements. We have a very special ep planned this evening. Very excited about it. My guest is extremely nervous, so give him a break. He's been DMing me a lot, trying to back out, frankly, cringe. So I told him it's fine, just relax. And hopefully we'll get through it. But before we get to that and watch the breakdown of our guest in real time, in fact, which I won't be editing out. As I said, I've got a couple announcements. Now, I'm not going to go through new patrons and all that today. I will be doing that on Wednesday because I'm excited to get into this episode and all of that. So if you're a new patron, welcome. Thank you. Patreon.com/thedropshot, bonus episodes, weekly hangouts, all that jazz. And if you're a new frog, welcome again. Join the fucking Discord, link it up, and I will shout you guys out as you deserve on Wednesday. Also, Nicomas, 4 hours ago, gave out fucking 10 offline gifted subs, dude. A real demon, dude. Nicomas is a very old frog. He was actually probably in the first 20 to 50 listeners we've ever had. Nicomas has been around forever. Now he's of course abandoned the podcast. I haven't seen him in a very long time, but apparently he feels bad about it and he's trying to bribe his way back into our good graces, which of course worked. So Nick, thank you very much for the fucking 10 offline gifted, dude. That's very generous, very kind, and I appreciate you, young king. All right. Now, most announcements I will be saving for Wednesday other than that and the following. So, patrons will have already heard this announcement for the most part. Give me 1 second. But I don't know if they've heard all of this. So, Tanner and I, had been trying to figure out what we're going to do for our next tournament, community tournament, the Dropshot Invitational number 3. And we have decided on almost all of the details, actually, but we're not going to go public with all the details just yet. However, we have a couple to share with you. First of all, the date, Saturday, August 21st at 1 p.m. Pacific time will be the tournament. The Dropshot Invitational number 3. This will be open to any and all patrons who want to sign up. The pool will be 80 to 90 players, depending on how that works. Not sure. So we're going to have a lot more slots than we had for the last tournament due to overwhelming demand. And we are very excited about it. So Saturday, August 21st, 1 p.m. Pacific time. It is going to be a Rebirth Island Resurgence Trios Tournament. That is what we intended to do last time. That is what we are absolutely doing this time. We're going to have up to 2 lobbies available, so we should be able to get in everyone who wants to play. Now, there are more details that we will share with you, but not at this time. But that's the date. That's the format, roughly speaking. The KD cap has been changed. There are some other rules. But again, Tanner and I will get into that at a later date. But that time, Saturday, August 21st, 1 p.m. Pacific, will not be changing. So if you need to ask off work fucking 6 weeks in advance because you work for the CIA or something, then consider doing that as soon as possible if you are interested in competing or watching live. So that is that, number one. Now, also on that topic, Tanner and I were trying to think of ways to fund this tournament that would be sustainable and equitable and fair. And I think we came up with a very elegant solution. And again, the patrons heard this first. Stay mad. Patreon.com/thedropshot. We are going to be doing sponsorships for this tournament. Every time we do a community event like this, we get very generous patrons or listeners in general coming out of the woodwork and saying, hey, I want to, give you guys some money to give out for like the prize pool or whatever. So instead of relying on that and not knowing what the prizes are going to be until an hour before the tournament, what we're doing is this. We have 6 sponsorship slots available. Okay, now we have 4 actually, because 2 of them have been taken. Each sponsorship slot, 100 United States dollars. Okay, if you want to give us less than that, I will pocket it. If you want to give us more than that, I will pocket it. It is precisely 100 United States dollars. Okay, and we have 6 slots available. Now we have 4. That's a total of 600 United States dollars. With that money, 100 is going to go to Godot for organizing the tournament. The other 500 is going to be the prize pool for the winners. So Tanner and I aren't going to keep any of that money. Unless a sponsor gives us less than or more than $100. In that case, get scammed. But that $600 is all going to be just funneled right back into the event. That's the plan. $500 for a tournament as small as ours is pretty fucking big, and we think that would be very cool. And we want to obviously pay GOAT as well, so that is what we're doing. Now, why sponsor the tournament? Well, many of you do it for absolutely fucking nothing, which is great, but we want to actually offer something for that sponsorship. So Tanner and I are getting some overlays made, and this tournament's going to be a lot more well produced than the last one. It's going to be structured a lot better, and we're going to actually have a much cleaner layout for this one. So we're going to have an overlay for when a match is taking place. Tanner and I will both be on screen, but the actual gameplay won't be obstructed at all. We're very excited to show you guys that. And then also we're going to have a separate overlay when we're between matches doing analysis or whatever, or waiting. And on this overlay, we're going to have 6 slots available for the sponsors. So do you run a drop shipping company, a printing press, a food truck? Great. We will, if you're a sponsor, we'll put whatever the fuck you want in that slot. Most typical would be like a logo or something, but you can do whatever. And even if you're like a Twitch streamer or something, we can put your, twitch.tv/Razanon in one of the sponsorship slots. Whatever you want, really, as long as it's not troll or TOS or whatever. So you'd at least be getting something for that very generous sponsorship. And in addition to that, of course, we would put all the sponsors' links in the show notes. We would talk about them just like a normal sponsorship for like an actual, the Gillette fucking play of the half on the Super Bowl or whatever. Something like that. So we had 6 slots. We have 4 slots available now. 2 of them were taken by patrons because they heard this first, of course. So, if you're interested in that, DM Tanner on Discord, and we will get that sorted. We think that that is fair and equitable, and everyone kind of gets something out of the transaction that way. So if you don't want to sponsor, cool, man. It's fine. If we got no sponsors, we're still going to guarantee a $200 prize pool. So if we got 0 sponsors, Tanner and I would have $200 allotted to the winners, divvied up how we see fit. We'll have details on that later. And then $100 is going to go to Go to Dope, no matter what, even if we get no sponsors. But ideally, we would have a $500 prize pool, courtesy of the sponsorship. So if you're interested in that, plug your product, whatever, your stream, whatever. DM Tanner on Discord, and you can get that sorted. So, cool. Other than that, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. We'll have more details on that for you next, on Wednesday, probably. If not, by next Saturday at the latest. But it's going to be a lot more well done, both in terms of the planning, which is perhaps more important, and the actual event itself taking place, and the production value of the event. Tanner and I are very, very excited. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Other than that, that is it. So let's get into the program. If you're listening for the fucking jingle, here it is. Rich, that's an interesting point. After this one, we might do a later tournament for the Australians. Because, yeah, 6 a.m. is pretty cringe. It's doable, but it's pretty cringe. Gifting patrons is not possible, unfortunately. All right. Yo, Deke, thanks for the fucking 12 months, dude. 11 months in a row. Enjoy that 1-year badge. Young Deacon Cheese, I love you. Thank you, young man. Another fucking old frog. A lot of old frogs now. And speaking of old frogs, I am joined this evening by... Actually, you're not an old frog. We'll get into it. Today, we have a guest, a special guest. If you're a part of the community, you will be very, perhaps more familiar than you'd like to be with our guest. He is a man of many names, of many identities. He's an intersectionalist. He is a fixture lately, for a while now, in the community. L2K Greatness was his name once. L2 Millie was his name another time. And now we have settled on a name many of you will hate, but I actually kind of like, because it's very similar to Razanon, actually, which is Lavoxeno, which is a mouthful. I'm going to have to get used to it. And there's some interesting lore behind that name. But let's start here. L, how the fuck are you, bud?
Good. How's it going, everyone?
It's going well for me. I don't know about everyone else, but fuck them. Now, L, tell us about your new name. When did this change happen? What's the origin behind it? What are we doing?
Last night, 12 shots deep, you know. No idea what I should change my name to. My older brother's name used to be Lavoxeno, and I was like, fuck it, we'll just do that. And then Raz had a handy idea of changing the N to an L. So I just took and ran with it. Origins, what it means, I don't fucking know. But I'm just running with it.
You know what's more powerful than a name that makes sense? Family. Right? So I'm getting on the TikTok meme there. So that, okay, cool, man. That's cool. Now, again, as I said, L is super active in Discord. He's at like every hangout. He's been around for quite a while. And L also recently switched from controller to keyboard and mouse. So we're going to do an episode on that topic largely, but we might veer off the beaten path, as it were. Some of you who have been around for a while may remember an episode very similar to this, actually, that we had done with young Jacob Down, also known as Jake Down, because he went through the same transition a couple months ago. I don't even think definitely not a year ago, actually. A couple months ago, Jake went from a controller to keyboard and mouse. L is now in the process of doing that as well. And I wanted to pick his brain for a couple reasons. Number one, again, as with the Jake episode, shed some light on what that is like, what you can expect, if you should do it or not, if you're considering doing it, etc. And number two is to get a perspective from someone who has very recently played on both input methods, what the strengths, weaknesses, misconceptions, or truisms are with each method of input. So, first of all, Elle, I'd like to start with this. Why did you switch from a controller? What made you want to make that switch?
Well, going back way to the TGD episode, that's like, I think the next day I went and bought a mouse and keyboard, like an actual decent one.
Interesting.
And then that's when the transition happened. And then it felt way more immersive. It just felt better, funner, even though I was dog shit. And that's when still everyone was playing the game. Jake, Tanner, Bango, they weren't fucking on the Tarkov grind. So I still had people to play with, and I was playing with them every day, and I did not want to go cold turkey, like just sucking every game for weeks straight in Warzone. And so that's why I didn't really hold with it then, because I was just better on controller then. I didn't give it the time. But now everyone's on Tarkov or doing their own thing. I was like, well, I got time. I know they're going to be back. So I'll grind it out for a few weeks and hopefully be proficient enough to play with the big boys.
Okay, interesting. That makes sense. Yeah. The TGD episode, I think that was inspiration for a couple people, because players like that exist. What TGD, young James, friend of the pod, Team EXE, what he does in the video game is not possible to do on a controller. For anyone, even if you're cheating, it's not possible. Your controller input does not. The game won't let you move that fast. So that makes sense. How old are you, El?
25.
25. Okay. And where are you from?
Not quite the boomer. From Utah, born and raised.
Utah, born and raised. Interesting. When did you start playing Call of Duty, the video game?
Oh, so the first game I remember playing, first game I really remember playing was like the first World War II, but I was like in diapers. My brother kind of got hooked on COD 4 for a while, so I would like pick it up with friends every now and then. Not really too much, but the first game that got me hooked and addicted was Modern Warfare 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think I still have more playing time on that game than I do of like Warzone and Modern Warfare. It's that was my life.
That makes sense. That is most people's first, most beloved, and most played Call of Duty. So that definitely tracks. And that was on PlayStation?
I was on Xbox, the 360, I think it was at the time.
MW2, I believe, was 360. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When did you find this shit podcast? How did that happen?
We're coming up on a year because I moved here end of August last year. And within a week of me moving here, I was doing DoorDash, driving around, and needed something to listen to. So I typed in Call of Duty on podcast, and that's where we came up.
Interesting. Okay. And then how long from that to joining the fucking Discord?
Let's see. It was, I think in October, November is when I went to the first hangout, and that's when I joined the Patreon.
So like
or Discord.
3 or 4 months. What inspired you to get into the community? Because now you're simply attached. You are the community in a large sense, but yet you were somehow just absent even though you knew about it. Super interesting. What inspired you to actually get active, as they say?
I get a chance to shit on these two kids that do a podcast. I'm down. Let's do the
Interesting.
hangout.
So this was it was the Patreon hangouts where we did customs.
Yeah.
That was
I
the
remember.
inspiration.
Yeah, I was laying in my bed, and I think you're doing it at the time, and I'm like, "Hey, how do I get in this?" And you're like, "Don't even worry about it. It's dumb." I was like, "Fuck you! I'm doing this."
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And then I was a stacking pest and got my other buddy in with me, and won 3 games in a row.
I remember one of those games ended at Hills, and then Tanner was like, "Who the fuck are these guys?" Not you, but
Yeah.
your friends.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck are these guys? At Bango's drop spot. And then, because he started to notice that you're a stacking pest rat, which makes sense, and that is, of course, true. Interesting. So, when you wanted to get into the Hangouts, were you confident that you were going to just shit all over us?
The first game, I was a little nervous because I didn't really know how many demons were in there. But after that, I felt confident. And I was so pissed off. I'm like, who the fuck is this cowboy kid that keeps on shitting on me?
Cope Cowboy,
Because Cope
dude.
killed me like 3 times in a row. I'm like, who the fuck is this kid?
Interesting. How funny. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. That's cool. So you...
I think after my
Good.
very first hangout, I played with Bango and Lemur, and we just had good conversation. I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely hanging out with these guys more.
That's cool. That's very cool. That's surprisingly the story of a lot of people, which Tanner and I have talked about, which we really enjoy, of course. So you play mainly Warzone. You've told me that. So actually, some background for all of you listening. I've played with L a lot. If any of you watch the gameplay streams, you know that L is one of maybe 10 people that like I play Warzone with regularly. So, and this has been for like a couple months now. So L joined the Discord, started doing the Hangouts, and then he was always one of the late night boys. And there are a number of late night people, but not too many. Especially when we were doing the customs, we would have, 25, 30 people in there. Customs would end, and then people would kind of trickle off, and then you'd have like this late night crew that L was a part of. I would say that was me, L, Dr. J-Web, Face Esquire, Jaren. Who else, L? Who else is there often late?
Oh,
I know I'm forgetting people. Grim sometimes.
I can't remember.
There's some lurkers too. I feel like Caden sticks around quite a while. P Blue.
Yeah.
There's a number, but not that big of a number. And if I forgot you, stay mad. Sorry. But anyways, yeah. So then like I got to know L quite well, and then yeah. So fast forward to now, I play with him quite a lot, and I know him quite well. And one thing I've learned about you is that in your Call of Duty history, you were mainly a search and destroy player on like prior to Warzone coming out. And I find that not terribly surprising because search and destroy, like Warzone, is a no respawn game mode. When you were playing like MW2, were you also a search player?
No, not at all. I believe. Well, I do remember now. I played a little bit of search there, and I would just have my rushing routes, but mainly it was domination. That was it.
Oh, okay. Interesting. When did you get into search then?
Really, when I got into it was Modern Warfare, because
2019.
search isn't really 2019. Search isn't really that fun to me unless like you got a solid group that plays. And I got like one and 2 different groups actually that I would play with all the time.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then one actually bought wall hacks, and I left that group, or I actually pretty much destroyed that group.
How did you find out about it?
He told us.
Yikes.
And he's like, nah, dude, I'm not using them. And then I would spectate him. I'm like, yeah, dude, you're using them.
That's such
Get the fuck out of here.
so cringe.
So I disband that whole fucking group.
What an idiot. These kids are so trash shit cans. Anyways, okay, very interesting. So since you played mostly on console, or at least on controller, when did you get a PC? Because before you switched to KBAM, you were on computer for a while with a controller. When did you get a gaming PC?
January of 2020. So even before Warzone.
Okay, got it. Nonetheless, I think it's safe to say Warzone's your first battle royale, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So,
Apex for like a month, and then I just quit it.
Got it. Okay, yeah. So L is, these days, he is only a Warzone player. He simply doesn't play multiplayer, I would say. Or if he does, it's very minimally.
Well, until this week.
And L is among the biggest... He might be the biggest grinder in the Discord, actually. How many, tell us about how much you've played Warzone. How many wins, how many hours, how many matches?
Oh, I don't even know. I really don't even want to think about the hours of my life that are playing Warzone. I think I'm at 240 something, 250 something wins right now. So not crazy high, but probably because I'm a rushing chimp too, but way too much time of my life is dedicated to this game.
Yeah, L's played a metric fuck ton of Warzone. What is your overall Warzone KD?
Overall Warzone KD is, I think, 2.35 right now.
And on your last week of controller play, what was your weekly KD?
The only really time I played Warzone was with you guys, outside of one game before that and a couple games after that. But I had a 1.5 KD when I played with you guys that day. So it's within the first week, I'd say that's not bad.
I'm saying your last week with a controller. What was your weekly?
Oh, my last week with my controller was my weekly. I was stuck at around 2.0 to 2.4.
Okay. So
anywhere
2.3 is about representative then.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Still very good, by the way. 2.3 is way better than me. About where Tanner's at, I would say. Greater than 99th percentile. So very good player, which is, again, part of the reason this is going to be an interesting conversation. So now let's get into the Switch. The good old Switch, dude. You recently switched from controller to KBAM. When exactly did you make the switch permanently? Because you said you were going to sell your scuff. That's a lie. And you can lie to me in private. That's fine. Don't lie to the listeners, though. Don't lie to the listeners.
Caden, my good friend Fez. I've already offered it to him, but he didn't accept it.
Okay. Well, he's going to keep the scuff, but you supposedly switched for good from controller to KBAM. What day was this? When was this?
I believe Sunday.
So it has been 6 days.
Correct.
Okay. So this is, and I wanted to put that at the outset for you guys listening because I want that to be very clear. This is the perspective of a very recent change for L. Like when we talked to Jake, it had been at least 2 weeks, if not a month or two. I don't remember exactly, but Jake was not this fresh. So
I need to listen to that pod. I haven't yet.
Yeah, you should. It's a good episode. Especially you just switched. That'd be
exactly,
worth listening to. But yeah, that he's a very new convert, but I still think this conversation can be very interesting. And you've definitely played a number of hours in the last 6 days. Is that fair?
Oh, very fair. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Like you said, the grind.
Yeah. So 6 days. How would you rate your skill now that you're on a keyboard and mouse compared to when you were on the sticks? Are you 20% as good as you were on a controller? 80%? Are you better than you were 120%? What would you say?
Such a difficult question. Right now, I'd between 50 to 80, I'd say. Okay. Because I still go into gunfight matches and like multiplayer matches, and I'm still at the top of the leaderboard.
Okay.
So I'd say I'm about 80.
Okay. And what would you say so far has been the most difficult part of the transition from using a controller to using a keyboard and mouse?
Movement, 100%.
Why? What about movement?
Getting that muscle memory to, instead of all my movement being on my left thumb, to now it being pretty much my whole left hand.
Yeah, actually.
It's so, and like a 360-degree rotation compared to 4 keys. It took time. I'm getting used to it now, but that's definitely the hardest thing right now.
Is using the
Using the
muscle
keys,
memory.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
This is
And I
good.
told you this, like I'll get in gunfights and I'll panic and I don't remember what button is what.
Yeah, that's fucking infuriating, because you'll like do well in like multiplayer when you can like, you know, you're not whatever worried. Yeah, I hear that. This answer doesn't surprise me anymore, but it used to surprise the fuck out of me. Like when we talked to Jake, I 100% expected the answer to be, oh, aiming with a mouse is like super hard. I expected that to be the answer. And he was like, no, that's like kind of intuitive. Like you move your mouse, like, okay. He's like, it's like moving around. That's like really hard. And I was like, really? But when you think about it, it is like gonna be super challenging. You have to remember, I mean, shift, WASD, space, that's what, 4, 5, 6 keys. And then crouch and prone is I guess those are different keys on a, still, that's what, 6 keys to do, or 5 keys to do what you could do with one thumb on a controller. It does make sense now to me. And a lot of people besides Jake since then had said that as well, but that makes sense. What has been the easiest part of the transition? Has anything been easy?
Oh, I want to say aim, but I don't want to say that's easy because it's definitely not, but it's just, that's the easiest thing for me.
It's most intuitive, maybe.
Yeah. Because like I've been around computers my whole life. I've been on a mouse my whole life, just like on a computer, really. So
right.
Holding a mouse is super comfortable to me.
Okay. Yeah. God, water's good. Yeah, that makes sense. We'll get more into details in a bit, but interesting.
It's crazy. Like Call of Duty IQ is pretty much one of the biggest things in Call of Duty, and like I still have that IQ of like where to peek corners, where to not challenge, where to challenge, and so I've just kind of kept that with me, and I'm doing just fine. I feel like.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's another thing too that was interesting about talking to Jake. I expected his transition to be way more rough than it was. But it wasn't. Like he got a nuke on keyboard and mouse, and it's his first time playing on keyboard and mouse in like a week, inside of a week or something, which is not easy to do, but it speaks to your point, which is that a lot of it's just Call of Duty IQ. Like, all right, I should peek this. I shouldn't peek this. I should challenge this. I shouldn't challenge this. I should plate. I should rush. I should drop shot, whatever. Which makes sense. But it was still surprising to me. For sure. Now, I'm going to give you a number of gunfight ranges, and I want you to tell me whether you would have an advantage on keyboard and mouse or on a controller at this range. So would you rather have a controller for this scenario or a keyboard and mouse for this scenario? Okay, we're going to go one by one. So inside of 10 meters, 0 to 10 meters, would you rather have a controller or a mouse?
In your ass gunfights, controller.
Okay, why?
I don't know if this is just me or if this is a setting I have to change, but whenever I take my mouse and someone like dives, say they dive like left of my like feet, I have to take my mouse and like fling it to them. And if they go a little more left than that, then I have to like go even more left, and I don't have the room to do that, so I have to reposition it. Yeah. So I have to reposition it, which takes time. And it's just like a lot of like quick, super quick movements that I'm not used to on mouse yet.
Okay, that makes sense. That's one thing a lot of people don't think about with a controller is that if you wanted to turn left forever, you could. Because your stick just stops at the end of the well, as it were, and you'll just keep turning left. This is also the advantage, by the way, of using like a joystick in Battlefield. So the real fucking turbo nerds on Battlefield games will have an actual fucking joystick like they're playing Microsoft Flight Simulator. And they'll get in a plane and they'll use the joystick. And the same principle applies here. The advantage of that is that when you're in a dogfight with some peasant on a mouse in a air-to-air dogfighting situation, you can just pull the stick back or left, and you'll go left forever, for as long as you want to. Whereas if you're on a mouse and you're trying to turn left, you can turn your mouse left, but at some point, I don't care how big your fucking mouse pad or desk is, at some point, you're going to have to lift that bitch up to recenter it so you can keep going left. That's not a problem on a joystick, and it's not a problem on a controller either. You can go forever. And when you are lifting up that mouse to recenter it on your mouse pad, that number of milliseconds is time just lost. You're not moving at all. And that is a complication you don't have on a joystick or on a controller, which does make sense. How about from 10 to 30 meters? Which would you prefer?
Mouse.
Why?
Mouse and keyboard. Just anything outside of that range, to be honest. It's the recoil control and the stability that I have on the mouse is so much better.
Okay. Interesting. So it feels easier to you already at like,
yes,
pretty far.
Yep.
Okay. That makes sense. And you wouldn't be able to attribute that to a computer because your field of view and shit's all the same as it used to be on a controller.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we've isolated that variable. Okay, very interesting. How about sniping?
Sniping's one thing I haven't gotten used to yet.
Have you tried much sniping?
Yeah, so you go into the Modern Warfare Game of the Year Edition 2019, and you do like face off or 1v1, and all those kids, all they want to do is just snipe or quick scope.
Yes.
And so that's how I've been trying to like get better a little bit at sniping. And at quick scope aspect, I'm kind of fine with, but it's when I'm aimed in at someone, it's like I can't pull the trigger. Like I have a hard time, like, I don't know, tracking the person, I guess.
Interesting.
It's weird to me. I don't know why. The zoomed in sniper is the hardest thing for me right now.
Wow. Very interesting. That's one thing I would expect that you would find the easiest on mouse compared to controller.
I don't know if there was aim assist on MW snipers or not. I don't really know how that works. But that's the only gun that I kind of feel that difference with.
So the way it works on controller, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure this is correct. Marksman rifles, Kar, SPR, Dragunov do have aim assist. But snipers, HDR, AX50, and the Rytec do not.
Okay.
So if you've been using a Kar for both of these, then you're now losing aim assist where you used to get it.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
That's
all I use. I'd never use the AX50 or HDR anymore, so
exactly.
That makes sense.
Okay. Interesting. One thing I would recommend to you and everyone who plays on a mouse is to at least consider toy with turning your high zoom sensitivity in game to like 0.7 or something. So this way, when you're ADS'd with a sniper rifle, your mouse will be way less sensitive than otherwise, so you can make smaller movements more easily because your mouse is less sensitive. So like my high zoom sense is 0.6, so I almost have my sensitivity when I'm ADS with a sniper. That helped me a lot when I did it, I immediately started doing way better. It's way easier to get headshots this way because you can move quite a bit to like, you could be way more precise. It's less sensitive. This makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would encourage you or anyone listening, if you're having trouble sniping, to try that, to lower the high zoom sensitivity to like maybe start with 0.7 and then kind of go from there. But I landed on 0.6 and I'm very pleased with it.
Gotcha.
1 second. All right. When we talked to Jake about this on this episode we had with him, he said he didn't really notice not having aim assist anymore, which I found surprising. So I had asked him, like, do you miss aim assist? And he was like, no, not really. I don't even like feel like I don't have it anymore. Like I don't notice its absence, which I found very surprising. So I'll ask you the same question. Do you notice a lack of aim assist now that you're on keyboard and mouse?
I haven't thought of that, and that's like pretty cool to think about because I have not noticed loss of aim assist.
Mm-hmm.
You would think you would, but I haven't.
Yeah, you would think you would, but I think maybe the reason is that, and this is why controllers have aim assist. You need aim assist on a controller. You only have your dumb little stupid thumb. But on a mouse, you don't need it. So now that you have greater control, you miss it less. Kind of makes sense to me. It still is somewhat surprising, honestly, but it does make some sense. So it's interesting that you're with Jake on that you don't notice it's lacking. How do you feel? Go ahead.
You turn aim assist off on controller and you overcorrect and just go too far because it doesn't stick. Or you undercorrect and you just stop before. And I would think I was going to have that same problem on mouse, but never did. Simply just click a file, you know?
Oh, sorry guys, I'm so thirsty. Water's so fucking good. Yeah, I mean, you have your whole arm to aim, and you've never misclicked a file, so shout out to TikTok, fucking idiots. Now that you're on keyboard and mouse, how do you experience stuns? Do they feel any different to you?
Oh, it sucks. I get stunned and I'm dead. Doesn't matter. Any situation, I'm dead.
Yeah. Or did that surprise you?
No. So I've been hearing about that too. I've gotten one kill stun since I've been on mouse and keyboard, which is I've been playing a lot in the past week. So one kill on stuns is insane. Yeah. Where if you're in the general vicinity on my controller, easy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's actually just an oversight by Activision on that. There's no chance that is fair. If they were aware of this problem, I think they would maybe fix it. It seems like it's so different. This is the like biggest this is the one thing where the difference between a controller and a mouse is the most noticeable, is how stuns function. It's just so different. It's so crazy.
How many houses been burnt down because someone's creating so much fucking friction trying to turn on their mouse when they're stunned?
Yeah, it just doesn't matter. I've toyed with the idea. I would never do this, but if for some of you who are very tryhards, you could consider having a DPI switch on your mouse. So you press a button and you go from 1600 DPI to 16,000 for when you get stunned. So you can actually maybe move your reticle, and then once the stun wears off, you can press it again, switch back to your normal sense. I've toyed with that idea, but I mean,
I wonder if it would even matter.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. They might just artificially lock your rotation rate or whatever.
Well, your DPI would overpower that, wouldn't it?
No. The game, I don't know if the game does this, but it could. So for example, if you tried to use, back in the day on console, kids would get this piece of hardware where you could plug in a mouse into your console through some dongle, and the game would assume you're using a controller even though you're not. So you'd be able to use a mouse with aim assist, basically. However, when people did this in many games, including some Call of Duty games, your rotation rate would be locked by the game. So you wouldn't be able to turn as fast as like you could on a computer game with a mouse.
Gotcha.
So it's possible, but I don't know. It doesn't really matter that much anyway. What have you experienced on keyboard and mouse that you maybe did not expect to experience, if anything? Has anything been a surprise to you on this journey?
What's been a surprise? I didn't expect it to be this fun, actually. I thought it was just going to be playing the game like I normally have, but it's, like I said earlier, it's just way more immersive. I did not expect it to be... I didn't expect to have fun playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, I envy you for that, for sure. Have you ever...
It's like a whole new game. I'm playing a different game.
Yeah, it is a lot different. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Have you used any weapons that people say are keyboard weapons? For example, have you tried the Ram 7, which is the most notorious example of a gun people on controller hate to use, but people on mouse have differing opinions of, but it's definitely a mouse player gun.
I have not used the Ram 7. That'll be my... I didn't know about this, actually. I didn't know there was easier guns to use.
Yeah. People say the Ram 7 is way easier to use on a mouse and keyboard, and it's like not even worth trying on a controller.
That makes sense, though, because you always fucking loved it, and I'm like, I don't know what is wrong with me. I fucking can't control this thing.
Yeah. It just goes like almost fucking
that would
straight
make sense.
left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's safe to say you're enjoying the game more now that you're on keyboard and mouse. Do you think this is because you're doing something novel and new? Or do you think keyboard and mouse is inherently more fun than a controller?
In my opinion, I think it's just more fun than a controller. And like I am like super excited to keep grinding and see like, where am I going to be at in 3 weeks? Where am I going to be at in 3 months? Where am I going to be at in a year? This,
right?
You know,
mm-hmm.
Like I am actually like super excited for that.
Yeah. This is something Tanner and I have talked about a lot too, which is that it seems to me that the skill ceiling with a mouse is virtually limitless, and on a controller, not quite. I've kind of stepped this opinion back a little bit because I think the skill ceiling is still quite fucking high on a controller, because there are people on controller who are just doing shit no one else is doing on a controller. So you talk about like Joe, for example. I've never watched this guy, but I believe what everyone says about him. Movement King or whatever. He's doing things, it seems, that no one else can do on a controller. So I've kind of walked that stance back a little bit, but still, in general, I do still think that the skill ceiling when you're using a keyboard and mouse is virtually limitless in a way that is at least different than it is on controller.
Here's a good way to look at it too. Personally, my opinion, I feel like it's a lot harder to be very good on controller. I mean, you look at these guys, Joe Woe and Mutex and Aiden, like you look at their skill sets, it's insane. But I feel like, so me personally, I was at a 2.45 KD in Warzone like a couple months ago, and then it's just been dropping kind of since then. I'm like, okay, I realized here's my cap, here's my ceiling.
Interesting.
And I've kind of tried a few different things and I can't break out of it. So this is kind of another way I can try to break out of it. But I feel there's way more ways to improve on a mouse and keyboard than there is controller.
Like what? That's an interesting take?
Aiming, big one.
Aiming for sure. Yeah.
Aiming, big one. And the movement skills that, like, say, like a person like Joe Woe has, it's like I realize I'm not gonna get to that point on controller, whether how much I play. So my advantage now is aiming on a mouse, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Interesting. Yeah. I need to watch some fucking Joe Woe content. Like what would be an example?
movement on controller. That's pretty much it.
Okay. So do you
Just
think what he
finessing
does is
it.
possible to do on a keyboard and mouse?
Oh yeah, it's possible. Probably, it's just those movement techniques are hard to learn, and you have to spend a lot of time just on that movement technique. But it's possible.
It's possible. Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
I don't think
I'd like to
there's
watch it.
anything impossible about a mouse and keyboard. Or what am I trying to say? I don't think there's anything impossible going to a mouse and keyboard than there wasn't on controller. So you're saying no one can do what TGD does on a controller,
Yeah.
but you can do everything that a controller player does on a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I think you might be right about that. It's definitely the case that you can do things on a mouse that are not possible on a controller. That's of course obviously true. Just because of DPI and shit. I mean, I can turn way faster than 20 cents. So literally not possible on a controller. So like it's already kind of that. Or like recoil control. If you're really good on a mouse, you can control recoil better than anyone on a controller. It's possible to do.
I agreed. Yeah.
It's interesting that you think that maybe it's not possible. I could see that being true. I think so. People say, like, people don't really say this. Some people say this. Fizz brought this up, and it was a very interesting point. He's saying, because he played a lot on a controller and he's played a lot on a mouse, and he's extremely good on both. Fizz_XI on Twitch. He was like, yeah, when you're on a controller and you have that joystick, you can move in 360 degrees of movement. But on a keyboard and mouse, you can only move in 8. You could W, W, A, S, 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 D, 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 W. So that's 8. Whereas on a controller, it's literally 360 around the circle. So he was like, so his point was you can move in more ways on a controller than you can on mouse, which is like sort of maybe true, but also you can multiply that 8 degrees of movement on a keyboard up by like turning your mouse, I think. But I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
But what were you gonna say?
I was just going off of your point just barely. Like you master those 4 keys. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows if that statement was correct?
Yeah, agreed. I'm not sure. But it is very interesting. So, okay. So do you think your immense enjoyment of the game, because like when I talk to Jake, and when I talk to Jake to this day, actually, he still stands by this, and it's been well over 6 months now. So I think this opinion's gonna remain for him. He was saying it's just more fun to play on a keyboard and mouse. Like, it's just more rewarding. He has more fun playing the game, and he'll like never go back to controller because it's not the novelty for him anymore. Because keyboard and mouse isn't novel for him anymore. He's been playing on it so long. So now it's just the input method itself is more fun to him. Now, I haven't always thought this, but I think it is possible that he feels that way because he does better on a keyboard and mouse than he ever did on controller. Would he feel that way if he was just as good on keyboard and mouse as he is on controller? If he was identical skill level on both, would he still find keyboard and mouse more fun? What if he wasn't? What if he never was able to get as good? Would he still feel that way? I don't know.
I don't know if we know that too, because Jake, unlike me, Jake went straight from console to PC, keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, that's a Are you sure?
I'm very certain. That's what he's been saying in the Discord for the past
okay.
couple
I believe
weeks.
it. I don't know. Okay. That, yeah.
So, I mean,
that
you
could
go
be
to
it
the
too.
frame rate and the FOV boost.
And the refresh rate too. Yeah.
So I believe like he's a better player on mouse and keyboard than controller. As much as what it showed, probably not.
Yeah, some of that was attributed to him being on a computer now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that could be it. It could be it too. But I'm going to be very curious to see what your opinion is on this in 3 months. Whether you still think it's more fun to play on a mouse. Tanner and I have always said we haven't played on a controller in a decade plus, so it's hard for us to say. But Tanner and I have always said it's just more rewarding to play on a keyboard and mouse because you're in complete and total control at all times because you don't have aim assist. So every kill you get is like 100% your doing, and you can again do things and turn your character in ways you can't on a controller. A controller player will never know the satisfaction of getting a sick 90. You can get 90s on controller.
I had my first one a couple hours ago.
And we'll get into that. But like, you know, if you're on a controller, you see a guy in front of you, you kill him, and there's a guy 90 degrees to your right. You can turn and kill him, and you can do it pretty fast. But you can't do it as fast as someone with a mouse. And the satisfaction that you get from killing this dude in front of you, fucking flinging your mouse to your right, and instantly turning on that guy and just shitting on him is just unparalleled. And I don't think you can get that feeling and that level of exhilaration on a controller because it's not possible to turn that fast on a controller. And you said you had an experience to share with us in that vein. What happened? Give us the rundown.
Oh, well, it was just a face-off in the Gulag Showers ship map, and kid straight in front of me, and I see right as I start shooting the kid in front of me, I can see the guy running to my right, and I know he sees me and he's gonna shit on me. So I just go for it, kill a kid in front of me, and just flick right on him.
Tanner and I have takes on controller / aim assist versus keyboard and mouse. For example, here's one take. If you're pre-aiming a corner where you expect someone to peek, you'd definitely rather be on a controller because as soon as someone peeks it, you start getting dragged before you can even register they're there. That's an example. We have many takes. Of the takes that we have that you can think of on aim assist, what it's like, what it does, what it doesn't do. As someone who has used a controller very recently and uses aim assist and is intimately familiar with it, do you agree with any opinions on aim assist or controller in general that Tanner and I have?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I see it now. Aim assist on Call of Duty is overpowered.
Overpowered, really?
It has to be there. Yes. You have to have aim assist, but in this game it's overpowered.
Have you gotten mad that you died to aim assist yet in 6 days?
The amount of times I've said fucking aim assist in the past 6 days.
So recently. Oh boy.
I sound like Papa Shit now.
You do. Yeah. Shout out to Pop, by the way. Pop, maybe you're next, you little bitch.
He switches for a day and just shit talks as much as he can.
Yeah. Pop, I might have you on next, you little bitch boy. DM me on Discord if you want.
We should have done this together, but...
True. I didn't think of it. Pop doesn't play Warzone with me, so I didn't think of him. So shout out to... Fuck you, Pop. Shout out to you for not being in my brain. DM me on Discord if you want to do this, though, Pop. Maybe we'll get that scheduled, because you're pretty fucking recent, too. But anyways, L, yeah. Go on. Sorry.
The amount of times like I'm able to find someone with aim assist can tell if they're in the building by just me sweeping left and right, or in a bush by me sweeping left and right. That's dumb. You shouldn't be able to do that.
And is that something you noticed? Is that something you noticed before switching, or are you just
Yeah,
now
that's
noticing?
I mean, that's something I would do.
Okay, I see. Okay, overpowered. Wow. So after the switch, you noticed it more often? Because, like, one thing that's interesting that many people don't talk about is that if you're a good controller player, you should also not want aim assist to be super strong. Because if you aim really well on a controller, then you want aim assist to be minimal so that you can outplay and out-aim other people who are on controller.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's something that not a lot of people talk about. But now that you're on a mouse, like, did you ever rage at aim assist and losing to it when you were on the sticks as well?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
Could I tell it's there? Yeah. Did I get upset about it? No, because I'm doing it too.
Yeah,
Like, I can't really.
I see. Okay. Interesting. Are there any other takes you can maybe think of you agree with, or not really?
Not really. What was that take about coming from the corner that you just barely said?
If you are on controller, if you have aim assist rather, and you're pre-aiming a corner, you have a huge advantage over someone doing that on mouse, because as soon as they peek the corner, you'll start getting drag.
Yeah.
Which is huge in the gulag. That's where it's really fucking annoying, is I'll die to someone in the gulag because they're just crouched in a corner pre-aiming, and I'll jump the corner or I'll slide the corner. And if they're on mouse, I might slide past their reticle. But if they have aim assist, it's impossible to
drags.
do that.
Okay, gotcha. I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. How about any takes that you disagree, Tanner and I, with? Disagree with Tanner and I on about aim assist? Are there any?
Not right now. It was more of just like my frustration that you guys talked about it when you did. So I'm like, look, I'm a damn good player. I know I'm a damn good player. And I don't want that to get discredited. So
yeah, for sure.
That's where I was coming from at some takes.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Tanner and I are, of course, guilty of this. I think we've been getting better because people get really mad about this, which we didn't expect. We're going to blame aim assist a lot. And there are many times where we just would have died anyway. But there are times where we wouldn't have died were it not for aim assist. And we get fucking mad. That doesn't mean aim assist shouldn't be in the game, but we're still going to complain about it. We're human. Especially when I've been getting fucking hip fire aimbotted for 3 hours on Warzone, and then I die to some fucking dog shit like that. Yeah, I'll tell you about it. But it doesn't mean I'm shitting on you as a person. I don't care. And controllers need aim assist. I'm not mad at that. It's not someone who is on a controller's fault that aim assist exists, and that it may or may not be too strong. That wouldn't be someone who's on controller's fault either. And we're not blaming you, blaming Activision when we say those things. But anyways, has your mind changed, or your perspective, has this perspective shift changed your mind on any part of what it means to play on a keyboard and mouse versus on a controller? Is anything... yeah, I guess I'll just leave it at that. Has your mind changed on any part of what it means to be on KBAM, or to be on controller, or to use aim assist, or to not?
I don't think so. I think it's just funner.
Okay. That makes sense. I think you had a kind of realistic understanding, even before you switched, of what it meant to be on controller versus what it means to be on keyboard and mouse, the strengths and weaknesses of each. Do you find anything more difficult than you thought it would be using a mouse? I guess sniping would be one thing that's more challenging than you expected.
Using a mouse. Yeah, I feel like it should be opposite. I feel like I would be a lot better at sniping, but I guess the one problem I'm having I mean, not necessarily just the mouse, but the biggest problem I'm having right now too is I can't get my keybind down for switching weapons, because going up to 1 or 2 just feels so absurd to me.
What are you using currently?
I'm trying to do 1 and 2, but the scroll wheel is what I have, and I know it's a bad habit to get into, which is why I'm trying not to.
Yeah. I'll run down my keybinds right now. I think you should use these. WASD move, spacebar, jump. C, crouch. Left control. How big are your hands? Show me your hand. Put your hand up. Ooh, okay.
Like
Z.
Small, medium-ish.
Yeah. Z should be prone. I use left control, but you can use Z. Many people use
I have
Z
prone on my back mouse button. I love that. It's my go-to drop shot.
The thing about the mouse buttons, the side mouse buttons, is those are prime real estate. So I would say the mouse button, the side mouse button closest to you, I have that as a lethal, so that you can cook a grenade and move in any direction you want at the same time. However, that matters less for Warzone than it does for multiplayer. But like,
okay.
I still have it this way, because then I can pull my thermite out, or my Semtex, and I can like walk right into the doorway, yeet that bitch, and then walk right back out. Because if you have your lethal on Q, for example, well, now you can't hold a thermite and walk left at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's a problem for me, and I just refuse to do it. So I use the side mouse button. And then the side mouse button closest to my monitor, I use that for slide. Because I'm never going to be aiming and sliding at the same time. Therefore, I can use a mouse button to do it, and it's not going to impede my aim. That's another thing about using a side mouse button for prone, is that if you're trying to aim while you're drop shotting, you want to have your right hand, when you're trying to aim, doing nothing but aiming. So you don't want to also be holding right click and contorting your thumb to press the button and trying to aim precisely at the same time. That's a lot of activity your right hand's trying to do when it matters the most. So I try to relegate as many mouse buttons as I can to things that will be pressed outside of me shooting my gun.
Yeah. What mouse do you have? Do you have the Model D?
No, I have an Aerox wireless, but every FPS mouse has the same layout.
Yeah.
Two side buttons and.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
It's not even like contorting my thumb though. It's just like kind of like flexing it, I guess.
I was being hyperbolic, but using it. I mean, it does fuck with your aim.
Yeah, I guess to an extent.
And every little bit counts. I mean, yeah, it might not feel like that much, but it does matter. You know, and you might as well minimize that. Now that, since you're still so new, you should really try to min-max your keybinds, and so you're getting used to a layout that's good. That's why I'm saying all this. So
yeah, that's what I've been trying to do.
WASD move, shift, sprint, spacebar, jump, left control or Z to prone, C to crouch, caps lock to mount, tab is scoreboard and multiplayer. I think people use that for inventory.
Yeah, it's like dropping stuff. Yeah,
that's fine. 2 is to switch weapons. Tilde is my map. 4 is to plate. 3 I don't use. E is tactical, so stun or heartbeat or whatever. R reload. F open door. Q melee. Let's see.
Wait, so F open door, is that not like pick up things too?
Yeah, all of that.
Okay, gotcha. Interact.
F is interact, yeah. So like when I go to Tanner's grandma's grave, I press F to pay respects as well. It's my interact button. That's correct.
F in the chat.
X, field upgrade. And then the side mouse buttons I discussed, and that's pretty much it. Scroll wheel for not a goddamn thing. I used to have scroll wheel to switch weapons.
I was going to ask that.
Have you tried to... scroll button click...
Is ping.
I love that feature.
Yeah. That's a great one.
Have you ever tried to cancel reload yet on keyboard and mouse.
That's why I'm having a hard time with the buttons is canceling reloads. Or like, you know, like when you swap weapons and you kind of like want to get it out faster, so you swap.
Animation canceling, yeah.
Yeah. That's where it's hard for me. But it just comes with time pretty much. I'll get it down.
Well, that's why you don't want to use the scroll wheel. It's hard to hit two scrolls. And when you're in a gunfight panicking, you're never going to scroll exactly twice. Won't happen. You're going to scroll 8 times, and then you're going to have a knife out, and you're going to die. That's why I'm telling you, you have to get that off a weapon swap. You have to use 2 or 1. I would strongly encourage you to use 2. Nate Gibson actually talked about this during a live stream once. He was like having trouble deciding what bind to use. And he was like, yeah, scroll wheel's way too inconsistent, but 1 is too far away. So I started using 2, and he settled on 2. So I was like, all right, I'll try that. So 2 is mine now. And switching weapons is easy, and cancel reload's very easy too. Just tap, you're done.
I don't know why like moving my middle finger up is just hard. I don't know why, but we'll get it.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's worth getting used to though. If you play with it for a week, you'll be good to go, I think.
But the ping one is awesome. Just having that readily available without really having to adjust.
Maybe that's why I ping so much and everyone else is lazy, because it's such a shit keybind for everyone else.
Well, too, and that controller, like you have to take a finger off one of the sticks and go up on the D-pad.
Cringe. Yeah, I didn't know that.
So
that's fucked. Yeah. So anyways. So Santeria in chat said, if your mouse has a nice scroll wheel, you can definitely use it to cancel reloads. So super interesting community feedback. Fake news. I don't care what mouse you have. It doesn't work. I promise you it doesn't work. If you're playing Warzone, you're in the 4th circle, there's 4 teams left. You walk into a building, you don't expect a soul in there, and there's some dude in a corner camping and he starts shooting you, and you have 6 bullets left. Or 20 bullets left, and you were in the middle of a reload. I promise you, if you're using a scroll wheel, you will fuck it up and you'll die. All the time. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how nice your mouse's fucking scroll wheel is. It is not a good bind. I promise you, you will fuck it up. You'll scroll wheel once, 3 times, 5 times. You will fuck it up. You cannot do it twice for a nice seamless cancel reload in a panic situation with any meaningful consistency. I promise you that. I've tried. Tanner's tried. Nate Gibson has tried. Everyone who is good agrees. You do not use a scroll wheel for weapon swap for that exact reason. I promise you, it's not possible. Don't do it. This is fake news. Just fake news, Santeria. So thank you, but I promise you, that's cap alert.
Everyone that I've talked to that still does it too says they're only doing it because of habit, and that's it. They know it's a bad habit.
Yeah. Yeah, because everyone you talk to that does it will tell you, like, yeah, it's gotten me killed. I was that person. I was that guy. That's why I went into streams that day, because I died to it once again. I was playing Black Ops 4. I think I was on like a 15 plus kill streak. I was like trying for a nuke at this time, and I was so fucking mad. I was like, dude, I have to stop using scroll wheel. God damn it. What do people use? So I went into Syrian's chat, asked him. I think he uses 1. And then I went into Nate's chat, asked him, and he said, yeah, I use 2. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try and get used to this. Way better. Way better.
So if it's 1, you do that with your ring finger. If it's 2, you do that. No?
Oh, wait, yes. Yeah, use the ring finger. Cringe. Don't use 1. I don't think 1 is good.
2 is middle finger.
2 is middle
Just
finger.
Go up from WK.
Yeah, I think 2 is way better, because it's closer. It's less movement.
Yeah, it is closer, yeah.
Yeah. The reason people don't use 2, I think 2 is less common than 1. And the reason for that is because I think that's just how the default keybinds are on keyboard and mouse, where 1 is like the default weapon swap.
Well, I know there's like a go back to the previous weapon and then go back.
Yeah, it could be 1 is like go to primary, maybe.
I don't see the why they do that. but whatever.
Yeah.
It's always going to the next weapon, not previous or next. But I know I've seen, this is weird. I was confused when Huskers did this a lot. He would pick up his loadout, he drops both his weapons on the ground, and then like picks them up. And I guess that like rearranges the order. So he's like, 1 is his SMG all the time, and then 2 is his AR all the time.
So in that case, he has a separate keybind. There are binds available. I don't use them. And this is probably a vestige of someone who plays a game with more than 2 weapons available. So some games you have like primary, secondary, and sidearm. And in games like that, you can't use a cycle weapon bind to cancel reload, because then you have to press it 3 times. Let's not get crazy. So they have dedicated keybinds. So if you press 1, it always takes out your primary. And if your primary is already out, then nothing happens. And if you press 2, it always goes to your secondary. 3, always sidearm, for example. Huskers probably has 1 always goes to his primary and 2 always to his secondary. So he needs to rearrange what is what so that his keybinds function as he's used to them functioning. That's my guess.
Yeah, and he did it all the time. Like, what the fuck is he doing? And someone
I never
finally
noticed
asked.
that. That's interesting.
Someone finally asked, and he explained it. I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, Boopsy's also saying, if you use 2, you have to take your finger off of W, so don't use 2. Cap. Another thing about keybinds, this is true on a controller too, but it doesn't matter as much because you don't have options. But on a keyboard and mouse, it does. Every keybind's an opportunity cost, or is like a pros and cons list. You have to take your finger off of something to press any keybind at any time, because you have your fingers on W, A, D, Shift, and spacebar. That's 5. You've only got 5 fingers, so unless you're gonna add fingers to your hand through genetic surgery or whatever. Genetic surgery doesn't even make sense. CRISPR, maybe. You always have to remove a finger from something to do another thing. So you could put weapon swap on a mouse button. That would be perhaps fair. If you were going to do that, I would do it on the side mouse button. On either side mouse button, I think would be fine, because you're never going to swap weapons while you're shooting. So you could do that. So you could do that. But I really like having slide there. And cancel reload.
It's such a big thing.
You're never going to do that while moving forward. That's the only thing that I'm trying to understand. It just doesn't make sense.
Hear me out on this one. What about G?
No, don't use G for anything ever. Keybind's so fucking far away. Like Tanner uses G for lethal. Cringe. End it all, Tanner. Fuck you. G is so far away, dude. I have to move my whole fucking hand, dude. I mean, you don't have to, but holy shit, it's uncomfortable putting your index finger on G. I hate it. I fucking hate it. And you can't move right either.
Talking about fucked up keybinds, Bango has some fucked up
Bango's keybinds make me furious. Yeah,
he has I think the G502, which on the scroll wheel, it's got like you can side bump it left and side bump it right, and that's what he uses for like his lethal and tacticals. That would be awesome, but it's not on this mouse.
Yeah. But anyway, I wouldn't use G for a goddamn thing. You don't need to. There's so many keys closer than G. Why use G? I don't know. Anyways. Whatever. Those are my recommendations. All I know is don't fucking use scroll wheel to switch weapons. Don't do it. Just all of you. There's a public service announcement. Anyways. Okay. So interesting. Who would you recommend should switch to keyboard and mouse that is a controller player? And who should not switch to keyboard and mouse that is a controller player?
Oh, that's hard. So the reason I didn't for a while was my brother, who is a psychotherapist, and he's like studied a lot of like psychology and like how the mind works. And he's like, dude, you're 25. I was like 23 or 24 at the time. It's like your brain doesn't work the same way as it would if you just started this like 10 years ago. And I'm starting to become kind of skeptical of that point. I don't know how much of that is true.
Was he talking about specifically switching to keyboard and mouse?
Yes.
Interesting. So he's a gamer too, then.
Yeah, well, on and off. I mean, he has 2 kids now, so
He's shit. Got it.
he had shit. And he works a full-time job. So I don't know how much merit there is to that, but I would say everyone try it. Give it a couple weeks if you have the means to go and get a keyboard and mouse. Do it. Try it. And if you don't feel comfortable with it after probably 2-3 weeks, then it's not for you.
Interesting. What proportion of people who switched on a trial basis, as you recommend, would you suspect would enjoy it more than a controller? Do you think most people who tried it would like it more and end up sticking with it? And what percentage, if so? Or if not, what percentage?
That's a good question. I couldn't tell a percentage. I know. So one time, Caden Fez, gunfight tournament teammate, he came over to my place a few weeks ago, and I couldn't kick the kid out. He sat on my keyboard and mouse for 3 hours
He's a
and was
controller
just
player who is fucking around on a mouse.
Yep. He sat here for 3 hours and was just fucking addicted. I'm like, wow. Okay.
Interesting.
It might just depend on the person to person, but I think if you can see yourself being even semi-proficient, like 50% of what you are on controller, you're going to enjoy it a lot.
Yeah.
And that's within like the first few days too.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I agree with this. And this sounds like this sort of sounds like kind of a trivial point to many. Probably not to most of you since you're listening to a podcast about a video game, but a counter argument a lot of people might have is like, dude, it's a video game. It's not that fucking serious. I play it to relax and have fun. I'm not going to go learn a whole new fucking thing like keyboard and mouse. Which is sort of fair, but I would respond by saying, listen, skeptic, how many hours a week do you like play Call of Duty, whatever? They might even say 1, but they've been playing for 5 years or whatever. It's a lot of hours over time. If you're doing a hobby and it's possible that you could have more fun in the same amount of time doing that hobby, why would you not do that? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm trying to think of an analogy. Like, if
I got
you
a point
were,
after this too.
I don't know, if you were, let's say you went to the gym once a week to play pickup basketball and you played 3v3 all the time. And someone was like, dude, you should try 5v5. It's a lot more fun. You're like, well, I already have fun playing 3v3. I don't want to learn a whole new thing. You'd be like, well, it's the same game, but it is a little different. It might be a little more complicated, but it's like the same thing. And it's more fun. You should try it. If you're going to be playing basketball once a week, either way, and it's possible you could be doing it in a more fun way, it is worth at least trying it, giving it an honest try, because maybe you will have more fun. And you might as well extract as much fun from your leisure activity as you possibly can, because that's the whole fucking point, dude. You're trying to have fun. So if you could be doing the same thing, but having more fun, you would be doing yourself a disservice to it not at least give it a shot, because maybe you will end up having more fun doing the same shit you're going to be doing anyways. So I think, yeah, I agree with you. Anyone with the means to should at least try it for an afternoon. See how they feel. And you could be having more fun at the end of it. I agree with that. And the proportion of people who would enjoy it more than a controller, that is a very difficult question to answer. If I had to guess, I would say, boy, I couldn't even give a percentage. But I would say maybe fuck, that's hard.
It's hard.
I would say if you're willing to give it an honest try, 75% of people would enjoy keyboard and mouse more.
So, question: does it matter on your skill level if you should switch or not?
Yes. Yeah.
Because even like Iceman Isaac made the switch
Back to
right
controller.
when like it was a month before Warzone was going to come out. Well, he plays both a little bit now. It was like a month before Warzone was going to come out, and he made the switch to keyboard and mouse. And he's like a 3 point something KD player.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Was that his first time being on keyboard and mouse?
I don't know.
Interesting. I don't know either. I thought you meant because he tweeted like yesterday. He's like, controller's better than KBAM for Warzone. I'm switching back, and it's that simple.
Wait, what?
Yeah, go to his Twitter.
I did not see that.
He said he's going to be switching back
Full time. Like I've seen him play on like controllers sometimes, like how what TP does.
but full time.
He just kind of goes back and forth. But
yeah.
Wow, interesting. I wonder
crazy,
what
right?
went into that thought process.
Yeah. Yeah, super interesting that he did that. I kind of see it. I mean, Tanner and I were talking about this. It's very interesting how the whole aim assist debate has really ramped up in the last like 2 weeks.
Oh yeah,
on Twitter.
Definitely.
And I don't know why. Like, nothing particular happened. People have always been like, whatever, complaining about aim assists sporadically, especially in the circles I swim in the Twitterverse. But like lately, it's been every fucking tweet from a bunch of people is either saying aim assist is too strong or saying keyboard and mouse players are fucking crybabies or whatever, all the time in the past 2 weeks. Did something happen? Why is this happening? Do you know?
Nothing that I know of.
It's weird, right? Have you noticed
But
that
I noticed only the stuns conversation has been a thing for the past 2 months. I haven't seen it before that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fucking weird. But anyways, yeah. I think Iceman Isaac is switching back to controller because
Yeah, what was it? It's finally time I accepted ... controller over keyboard and mouse.
yeah.
And then today he was playing controller.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with him. I wonder if it's just a bait thing.
I don't think so. Isaac isn't the type to bait like that. I don't think. I'm not a huge fan of his, but I've seen a good amount of his content. I don't think he's the type.
He's plugging in his Cronus now.
Do that. Yeah. Well, maybe. Bad Boy Beeman's got a video cooking right now. As you said earlier, controller has it's indisputable that the advantage is with controller inside 10 meters. And as someone said in that Twitter thread, I believe, in these tournaments, most gunfights happen inside 10 meters. Or at least a lot of them do.
What tournaments are you talking about? Are we talking about the pubs or the customs?
That's actually a good question. Let's say customs, because that's where the landscape is shifting
customs, now. I don't think it's in the ass then.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, actually. I think it's less often that people are storming buildings and shit. Yeah, that's a fair point.
It's definitely
pubs
in the
for
ass.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Huskers at one point was running the FFAR and Mac 10.
Yeah, exactly.
That tells you all he wants to do.
A lot of people, yeah. Or wait, no. Oh, yeah, you're right. That's super close, right?
FFAR Mac 10. Yeah, like
that's super
close.
Yeah.
And he did that in tournaments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Either way, very interesting. But even if that's true, though, I don't think that matters for most people listening. I would venture to say anyone listening, because if it is the case that Iceman Isaac is right and controller is just better than keyboard and mouse in Warzone, hey, who cares? You guys aren't playing in the World Series of Warzone. You should be playing what's more fun. not what's going to be better. Like, because let's say we agree with Isaac that controller is better overall. First of all, it's pros and cons. Controller is better at some things. Mouse and keyboard's better at other things. These things are both true. If you're super good on mouse and on a controller, you'd rather be on a controller up close. You'd absolutely rather be using a mouse sniping though. If you're super proficient. There's no chance that's not true. So it is, pros and cons. But even if controller is better overall, doesn't matter for you guys listening. You're going to be just as good probably on either one. And I would argue you're more likely to have more fun on a keyboard and mouse. So again, I would recommend, as we were saying, everyone try it and yeah, just give it an honest shake and then assess for yourself if you have the means to. Like you said, I think that's well said.
TP was on a podcast a few months ago that I listened to.
Who was?
TP.
Oh, okay.
And he's notorious for always using the mouse and keyboard plus control. Like he switches off a lot. And he's like, I'll have these arguments with my chat. He's like, I'll have my mouse and keyboard, drop a 30. Very next game, plug my controller in, drop a 30.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think one's necessarily better than the other. It's the trade-offs. It's just like, what's funner to you? Right now, mouse and keyboard's a lot funner for me. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, that's probably true with Jake too, like you said. I had forgotten he switched to computer at the same time. That would account for a lot of his improvement. There's no chance it didn't. So
question.
Go ahead.
So you've seen Jake's improvement. What do you think my ceiling is on keyboard and mouse? Do you think I cap at the same spot, or do I keep going? Do I even get there? Yeah.
Interesting question. Well, the difference between your playstyle and Jake's, you like to play a lot closer than Jake.
True.
So, I don't think you're going to see the same improvement as Jake did. Because Jake's playstyle, Jake will play close, but he doesn't often. Certainly not as much as you do. So, Jake had more to gain by going to a mouse. Because he snipes pretty often. But even if he's not sniping, he's using his ARs at pretty good distances where aim assist doesn't matter that much. So he had more to gain, I think, than you do. So, I think you'll probably be about the same, would be my guess. And that would be great, because then you'd be just as good.
Yeah.
And also having way more fun.
Plus having fun, yeah, exactly.
So it's a win-win. How would you answer that question? Where do you think you're going to cap?
I mean, I can hope I go up and get better, but that's my hopes right now. What I think is going to happen, I honestly don't even know.
Has your play style changed at all now that you've switched?
The only Warzone I've played, though, is with you guys. Because Warzone, I feel like I just don't get as many like repetitions and gunfights with. Where multiplayer, it's like always gunfights and like practicing.
Interesting.
It's like I played golf growing up. It's like you don't learn how to play golf by just going on the course and playing all the time.
Yeah, you got to go to the range.
You go to the range and repetition, ball after ball,
Yeah.
So I couldn't really answer that question. I was probably a little more hesitant to engage in gunfights, but that's just because I'm not
more
super
you're
confident.
New, not because of the input. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So we'll see.
In the future, do you think you'll change your play style now?
I don't think so. Just my nature. I'm just an aggressive piece of shit.
I will say, dude, I am so much more confident. And I haven't played on controller, so maybe this is just my innate play style, but maybe it has something to do with the fact that I'm on mouse. I'm way less confident in a building than I am in the open, 20 meters. I fucking love when I see someone, even if we're playing heads up in a field at 25 meters, I'm thrilled. Let's go. Like I'm super confident there. But if I'm like in a building or someone's pushing me in a building, I'm way less confident than in the first scenario.
Gotcha.
Way less confident. That could be because I'm on a mouse. Maybe not. I don't know. But I'd be curious to see like what Tanner thinks about that actually, where he's most confident. Probably with a sniper. But then again, is that because he's on mouse too? You know, would he feel the same way if he was on the stick? I don't know.
I don't have the biggest sample size for this, but it's easier to get people off of head glitches. I like aim assist. I feel like pulls like kind of more towards center mass, where like keyboard and mouse, it's easier to like aim higher for the head.
That's super interesting. So aim assist will drag through cover, through surfaces, as you detailed. You exploit it to find out where people are.
Of course.
So if that's true, which it is, then it will be harder to take people off of head glitches because your aim assist will be dragging to center mass when you don't want it to, because that's where the cover is. Very interesting.
Well,
Very
and if you're trying to like be accurate and only go for the head on a controller, it's a lot easier to be that much more accurate on a mouse than it is that controller. So I've found it a lot easier to get people off of the head glitches.
Irrespective of what weapon you're using?
Yes.
Interesting. That makes complete sense though, actually. I never thought about that, but you don't have to fight with aim assist to aim at someone's head. Wow, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah. As I said, it's all give and take. And that makes a lot of sense, actually. So, very interesting. Okay. Do you have advice for someone who wants to switch?
Yeah, but I didn't listen to it.
Okay.
If you're gonna do it, balls to the wall, just do it. Don't switch back controller all the time. Don't get frustrated and go to controller. Just keep it mouse and keyboard 100%.
Yeah, so you tried to switch to keyboard and mouse during the TGD episode. You didn't ultimately. What was the reason for that?
And that's just like me being uberly competitive, hating like fucking Jake getting more kills than me every fucking game, you know? It's like I need to compete. That's my competitive side. I need to compete.
So you had to go back to what was comfortable.
Which I was so scared. I was pretty scared to play with you guys on yesterday actually. But like that kind of proved my point. Like I'm competent right now where I'm at to play Warzone. Like I feel pretty good to where I can hold my own now. So
yeah, that's good.
I'm in a better place now then.
Yeah. And the more reps you get, the better you'll get. I think maybe even more important than getting used to aiming is going to be not panicking.
Yeah.
So like when you're when we were at the bottom of Nakatomi in downtown, you were like, man, I was just fat fingering and fumbling all over because I'm not used to it enough, which is absolutely going to happen. Like that's totally that. Like,
also, that was like I think
sense.
That was like our first or second game too.
Yeah, we were. Yeah,
and so I was still like trying to get used to it.
Yeah,
but after it went on, I was better.
Yeah,
I think I had like 10 or 11 in one of those. Or no, I think it was like 9.
Let me tell you something about Tanner and I never give a fuck how many kills anyone has, including myself. Unless I have like 20 kills, I don't care. I don't give one solitary fuck. If a match ends and we're back at the main menu and you ask me how many kills you had, I have no idea. You could have had 1 or 11. I don't know. I don't care. Neither does Tanner. Did we win? Then I'm happy. And if we lost, I'm mauling. That simple. So I don't know what kind of fucking weird thing you've got going on, but
sounds good, therapist. Iron. Sounds good, Iron.
Okay, yeah. Well, I if only I were Iron. Okay, so go full hearted into it. I agree. Obviously, you want You want to force yourself to do it while you're uncomfortable and just stick with it, because that's the fastest way to get the muscle memory done, is not switching back and forth, trying to get fucking comfortable, then going back into your ways and then getting comfortable again. You want to just, for sure, stick it out. I agree. Do you have any other advice for someone who wants to switch or has recently switched?
YouTube videos are a very helpful thing.
Interesting.
Very helpful.
What kind of videos have you watched?
Iceman Isaacs put out a couple good videos, or even just like I looked up a lot of people's, like the people I like watching, like their mouse sensitivity, their DPI, their keybinds, and like getting a feel of like, okay, this is what they do. Why do they do that? Why should I do that? Or to like just like beginner keyboard and mouse player, just type that in YouTube and it's gonna come up with some decent videos.
Yeah. Yep. YouTube is an excellent resource for shit like that. I do it all the time. If I'm playing a new game, that's like what I do when I play a new game. I'm a fucking nerd, so I have a process. So every time I play a new game, here's what I do. I play it myself for an hour or two, maybe a session, depending on how much I'm struggling. But I'll play it myself first, unaided. And I'll do my own keybinds. I'll fuck with my own settings. I'll kind of fumble through the game for an hour or so that I'm vaguely familiar with the setting, the game, whatever. Then I will go on YouTube and I will look up beginner guide game name and just watch it and learn a lot. And because I've played a little bit, I'll be familiar with what the fuck's a soul shard. Oh, okay, I've played already, so I know. You shouldn't start with a YouTube video, in my opinion, because you're just gonna, none of the advice is gonna soak in, because you won't have any point of reference. And then I'll apply that beginner guide as needed, and then at that point I'll be competent, and then I can search up YouTube videos specifically for any concerns I have. And then when you're looking for what's a good YouTube video, look for something with 4-digit views or more, 90%, 95% like ratio or higher, and it's going to be a great guide. And you can usually tell what's a good guide if you've been on the internet for any length of time. But yeah, YouTube's an excellent source. Like, what should my Warzone keybinds be? There are probably very good videos on that on the internet, on YouTube. Yeah, specifically. And that's something that I've said quite a bit about learning how to get good at any game broadly. This wouldn't exactly apply if you're switching from controller to keyboard and mouse necessarily, although it might, but more for if you're just trying to get good at any game. You should find streamers who are insane and just watch them while you eat dinner. Instead of watching fucking another rerun of The Office, watch a really twisted gamer live stream, unedited, on Twitch. Play the game you're trying to get really good at. You'll learn a lot through osmosis. I promise you. I've learned a lot of things watching Twitch streams. And I would strongly recommend everyone do that. Have you been watching more keyboard and mouse streamers since you switched?
I was going to this point right now. It is fucking weird, because I remember you always saying it's like, I don't watch controller players at all. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, that's all I fucking want to watch. That's all I care about watching. I care about watching Joe, Tommy, whoever else plays. Mm-hmm. And now I can't even watch. Mm-hmm. I have to watch keyboard and mouse players. I don't know, like,
why is that, do you think?
It's just like just seeing, like, not even like flicks, but just like the movement of the mouse is like, it's gratifying.
Yeah. Gratifying is a good way to put it. I agree. Who have you been watching?
I'm the word you can't say on Twitch. I'm a S word for Kaylee.
Oh, Kaylee. Dude, she's fucking really good.
She is correct, too.
She is really good. People, I think people actually respect her a fair amount, which is good, because she deserves it. She's fucking insane, dude.
Her snipes, oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've watched Huskers for a long time, too, so I always watch him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever TP plays mouse and keyboard, I watch him and Iceman, and that's pretty much it.
What's your sensitivity, by the way?
Right now, I've been on a comfort level with, I think, 800 DPI, 6 cents.
800 DPI, 6 cents?
6 in-game cents, yeah.
Interesting. That's pretty good. It's pretty low, but that's good for Warzone.
Yeah, it's like, it's not too low, not too high.
No, it's not too low.
Yeah.
Definitely not too high. It's not too low either, though. Yeah, that's good. Did you model that after someone?
No, I kind of played around with it. And I went up to 900 for a second, and I'm like, this feels a little too high. So
If you're ever changing your DPI, I'll tell you and everyone listening, do not use DPI that is not a multiple of 800. Because some games do not like playing nicely with DPIs outside of 800. So you want to have 800 or 1600. That's pretty much it, actually. You shouldn't go higher than that. But 2400 if you're an animal for whatever reason. But I've read, I don't know if this is true, but it doesn't really matter what your DPI is anyway, because you can make your same centimeters per 360 based on whatever DPI you have with in-game sense. So it doesn't really matter, so you might as well change your DPI to either 800 or 1600. Because a lot of games I've read play weird with things that are not multiples of 800, and there will be like pixel skipping and shit like that. Again, I don't know if this is true, but it probably is. And even if it's not a huge difference, you can, if your DPI right now is 1400, you can change it to 1600 and then change your in-game sensitivity accordingly. So your sensitivity will be exactly the same, even though your DPI is different. You can do that. So it doesn't really matter. I was going to
ask you if there's a difference between like high DPI, low end game, or low DPI, high end game.
There technically is. This effectively doesn't matter, but it does. So DPI is, I think it's dots per inch, and it is how many pixels your mouse moves per inch. So technically speaking, it's better to have high DPI, because then your mouse pointer is
it's registering more accurately.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you can be more precise, and then you can just change your in-game sensitivity to match whatever you had on the other DPI. So technically, it's better to be high DPI. Shouldn't matter. 800's fine. Many people use 800, but those people use it because they're old and they're used to playing older games like CS:GO, where you have to have low DPI, because if you have 1600 DPI, you can't make your in-game sense low enough to be what you want.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So technically, it would be better for you to do like 1603.
Gotcha.
And it would be virtually the same.
And that's kind of why I liked watching Kaylee for a little bit, because she has the same DPI and sense.
Oh, okay. Yeah. 800 DPI is enough. It's perfectly fine. But some nerds will tell you 1600 4.12.
Okay. Do you know the difference between yours and mine?
No.
Okay.
I can find out though. Hold on. I think I can find out actually. No, I can't.
Is there a
you can find
somewhere?
out, but it'll take me a little while.
Gotcha. Yeah, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out later.
There is an objective measurement called centimeters per 360. And this, so you can have different DPI and in-game sensitivity, but if we have the same centimeters per 360, then our sense is exactly the same. Yours is probably fairly close to mine. You're probably around 1603. So mine would be higher sense than yours.
Okay.
But not by too much.
Gotcha.
But you want to be on pretty low sense for Warzone. It's more annoying moving around, but you're also going to be more precise at long ranges and shit. And
do you have a mini keyboard, by the way?
No, I have 10 keys, but I ordered a new one that's 10 keyless.
Okay, gotcha.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, that was a game changer for me.
What was?
Getting a mini keyboard. My keyboard that I had before this was fucking massive.
Just too much real estate on your desk?
Way too much. Yeah, I would slam the left of that thing like there's no tomorrow.
Oh yeah. The compact ones are good for that for sure. So
that, oh my gosh, that helped. That even just made it funner, honestly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you don't want to be hitting your keyboard with your mouse. Yeah, you should get a bigger desk more than a smaller keyboard. Honestly, I have a giant flat desk.
Big desk. I've got a 47-inch.
Well, then move your keyboard. I have a big keyboard, and I've never once hit it, and because my desk is big, so I just move it left. So
like tracking a vehicle, shooting a vehicle, and you just keep on dragging the thing. You've never tapped it?
No, my keyboard's far away from my mouse pad, so no.
Okay, gotcha.
I can send you a picture, but
it's also like a comfort thing too, because I'm not gonna go like this, like arms fucking way out.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. If your desk is big enough, it shouldn't matter. But a lot of people do prefer compact keyboards, so that's fair. But we can, we can get into that.
That's
later.
weird because I know Isaac got a like one of those keyboard that it stops at like the H key.
There's compact, mini. I think it's like 10 keyless and then mini or compact or something. I don't know, but I think there's like 3 sizes. Like full,
have you seen those ones that it cuts off the middle of the keyboard? Like literally, you don't have the HJ. Like that's what Iceman Isaac was using 3 days ago.
Yeah,
it's so weird that he tweets that now.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. Yeah, some people are into that. I don't know. If you have enough desk space, it shouldn't matter. But maybe for some people, it does. I guess you could. Yeah, I see what you're saying. You can have your arms closer together, but still have your keyboard off your mouse pad.
Yeah.
If it's shorter. So, yeah.
Anyways.
All right, Elle, anything else you wanted to discuss?
Oh, not that I can think of, little buddy.
All right, buddy. Thank you for coming on. This was fun. It was insightful. I appreciate it. As I said, Elle's a fixture in the community. Join the fucking Discord. Stop by, take a look at him, talk to him, play with him. And Elle also streams the video game. You should watch him be defeated by window bosses on a keyboard. If, Elle, someone wanted to watch you be unable to crawl through a window on a keyboard and mouse, because it is, of course, more difficult, where could the people do that? How would they find you?
Twitch.tv/Lavoxeno, LAVOXENO.
And that would be the same on Twitter?
Correct.
Huge. All right. I will have those links in the show notes for young Elle, friend of the pod. Elle, thank you again for coming on. Now, if listeners, you enjoyed this episode, rate us 5 stars on iTunes. We would appreciate it. It helps the algorithm. We will be back, of course, on Wednesday. Probably have more tournament details. Tanner may or may not be back. Who fucking knows? Fuck Tanner. By that time, we hope you enjoyed, of course. Also, if you had some money you wanted to piss away on this dog shit podcast, patreon.com/thedropshot is the first place you should go. That's where we offer all of our bonus content. 5 bonus eps a month, weekly hangouts, community events like the tournament that will be patrons only, so sign up if you want to participate. And we really appreciate all the support from our existing patrons and your consideration if you were thinking of signing up. And then lastly, once again, we have 2 sponsorship slots available now. There are only 2 left. So if you wanted to sponsor the Dropshot Invitational number 3, DM Tanner on Discord and let him know. We have 2 more available out of 6. So do that as soon as possible, because it will fill up. And no, we will not do more than 6. It's done. It's only 6. And that is a pretty good opportunity for exposure. But more than that, it would just help us out a lot. It would contribute to the prize pool, help us pay Goat for his hard work and dedication. He did a great job the last one. I'm sure he'll do a good job at this one as well, and he deserves to be compensated for that. So we appreciate your consideration on that front as well. Boys, that is it. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Have an excellent evening, of course. And as always, remember, stay humble.